Dills. Hey, Heartless. This is Jed Stolefish calling you guys from Michigan. And I'm a music teacher by day. I teach orchestra and, play a lot of RuneScape at night. Just kind of want to say thank you and say what's up and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to episode 205 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dills, and Heartless still out shredding. He's still in the dunes shredding his dirt bike. I hope he's okay. No. We actually just for a little. What do they call it? BTS? Is it BTS? Behind the scenes. We started recording this intro, and we knew he was on borrowed time because he had some IRL things that were a priority, and we got in, and then we had to shut it down real quick. So we decided scrap it. I'll go back, redo it solo, and maybe he can, and hopefully he can join us for the next episode. But we got some stuff to talk about. So first, continuing this saga, it's always whenever there's some sort of PvP discussion, it's never a one and done. It has to be a saga. It's just the way it is. If we can recall all the way back in whenever the Rev Caves was first released, there were multiple episodes where we had talked in length about new PvP armors that were going to be introduced. And I guess just going back, giving some context, I wasn't a huge fan of these, and Deegan was on the show at the time, who is a co-host from years ago. And we both didn't like these armors because they were just way too strong. We just didn't like the type of armor, I guess, the way it was being proposed. But we got dev blog after dev blog trying to make it work with little revisions here and there. And ultimately, as we saw, it didn't work out. And then Rev Caves came out with arguably not a great state. It was just like a cash cow. They would drop like ridiculous drops. It had no uniques. So this is the problem. Whenever there's no uniques tied to something, Jagex knows they need to get people interested in doing it. So they're like, let's just make them drop a ridiculous, like private servery sort of drops. And what I mean is like 100 dragon plate legs noted. Stupid stuff like that, right? And then eventually they went back, and because people complained, people didn't like that you killed Rev Caves and they just dropped like noted of 20 noted rune plates. It just seems like something you would see from Moparscape. Shout out to my boys over at Moparscape. We miss you. If anyone remembers Moparscape, those private servers. Oh boy, did I used to have fun on those. I wonder if that's still going on. I wouldn't try it. Probably lose your account, but still. Anyways, back to the Rev Caves. They eventually reworked it and removed a bunch of those private servery drops, and instead they replaced them with these ancient totems that were just worth X amount of gold. So like 16 mil or 1 mil or whatever it was, right? They have a bunch of these totems that kind of drop, or these relics. I don't even know what you want to call them, but that's what they did instead. And then eventually we saw some uniques come in the way of these PVM wilderness weapons, which kind of works. So my point is, why did I bring all of that? Because we got more PvP blogs to talk about, but this one is more of a generic improving PvP dev blog. But as usual, as we could all bet, people aren't happy about it. There's been a lot of discussion about this on the social media, the forums. Do we call them forums still? Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, I guess. It's interesting. So we'll get into that. But we got some more fun stuff to talk about as well. The Giants Foundry was pitched. This was an ideation, I think they called it, where the JMod boys and girls were able to spend some time. They spent a week doing a game jam, coming up with different ideas that they could bring into the game. And I think the Giants Foundry was one of them. And this is going to be a smithing mini game. So, where this is the age, if every year you could label it as the era of whatever, it seems like we're in the era of skilling activities, which I'm all for. But yeah, we'll get into this in more detail. And next we have the iOS closed beta, and they did this inventory rework. This is actually kind of a minor update, but I guess we can get into it afterwards as well. And then last, actually we got two more things to mention. Second last, we have the RuneScape board game that we chatted about a couple episodes ago. They have a dev blog about that in more detail, and they have some miniatures that they showed off, and they look kind of cool. So kind of excited for this one. I like board games and I like RuneScape. So you put them together and hopefully it's something good. But we all know there's a chance of it absolutely sucking. Now, this isn't being made by Jagex. It's being made by a third-party company. And they are very hit and miss in terms of their board games. And finally, we have two bugs we get to talk about. One that has to do with moving items around in the inventory, and the other one has to do with Guardians of the Rift Worlds. We love our bugs. Every update has to bring some bugs with it. So we will get into all of that and more when we get to our news segment. But as always, we kick off every single show just chatting about what's new with us, with me. And also, I tried to dribble in some topics as well. So yeah, what have I been up to? I have been doing a lot of skilling. My account is pretty much, it's on its way to maxing. It's a slow journey when you get to the end game, but that's what I've been doing. I've been just slowly skilling away. I got 96 mining. I got 96 prayer. I'm working towards getting those to 99. It's going to be a bit of a slog, but we're going to get there. Mining is just super AFK. I do it just whenever I can work on other things on my computer. Prayer I do when I need to, when I can be a little bit less focused on whatever it is I'm doing. I go to the Chaos Wildy altar and I do all my prayer there because I just love it. I prefer it there than anywhere else. It's my go-to preferred method. I really like wilderness content. Okay, so there's been a lot of discussion recently about the wilderness. Is it dead? Is it good for the game? And there's been like a lot of vocal people who are basically just, my perception is that they are just bitching and complaining about the wilderness. They don't like, it seems to me that people don't like to get killed in the wilderness, which is totally fair, but they have very negative feelings about it. Now so there's been a lot of discussion, and anyone who listens to the show knows that I love the wilderness and I love so many different aspects of it. So I see a lot of people complaining about it. I see a lot of arguments against maybe the wilderness or changes into the wilderness. And sometimes I find a hard time seeing eye to eye. I can understand why someone would hate the wilderness, but I love skilling in the wilderness. I love PVMing in the wilderness. I love bossing in the wilderness. I love PKing on both my pure and my main. I really enjoy a lot of different aspects of the wilderness itself. So the reason I'm bringing that up is that's why I do a lot of the Chaos Altar. I do really like it, even though I do get PK'd from time to time, but it's far and few and far. It's very rarely that I actually get PK'd. And sometimes if I wanted to, I could bring the gear to mitigate the amount of times I would die. But other times I bring, the Zealot prayer set, which allows me an extra 5% chance at saving bones. So I find that a little bit more AFK as well. So that's what I've been working on my account. It's kind of boring, to be honest. It's not really fun to talk about. Everything's very slow. I get like a couple hundred thousand experience and like mining through a week. I get, I might get a level in prayer in a week as well. But things are quite slow and it's not really, there's not much fun to talk about, right? When I do these intros, I kind of talk about what I've been up to on my account. And when I started this podcast, I was like level 90. So there's a lot I was learning about the game. There's a lot of things that I was doing for the first time and it was fun to talk about. Here's my experience with X. Now that I'm a little bit more into the game and getting towards just maxing, it's a lot of things are quite boring to be honest. I mean, I'm still having fun. I can stop and I can go do PVMing at any point, but a lot of the times I'm like, you know what? I feel like doing skilling because maybe I want to chill and watch TV, whatever it is. And I'm slowly working my way towards maxing. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about in terms of actual RuneScape, but I did start playing another game. And this is a game that I have a weird relationship with. I every few months I come back to this game, but I tend to not stay long. I'll play it pretty consistently for a couple of weeks, and then I just don't know what happens. I just put the game down and I don't pick it up for another few months. And this game is Destiny. It's a game, a Destiny 2 specifically is what I'm playing now. But I've been playing Destiny since the first one came out. I really love the game. I find it very fun. It's a looter shooter game. So think Halo mixed with like Borderlands. I don't know why I'm seeing Borderlands. I've never really played Borderlands. Think of like Halo mixed with like Diablo or Path of Exile, where the gameplay is more like Halo, but you get a bunch of loot, you get a whole whack of different guns. There's so many guns to collect, and it's all about like min-maxing for the most part. Once you start getting near the end game, there's dungeons to do where you do with groups of 3. There is raiding to do in groups of 6. There's PvP. There's just like general missions and quests to do. So it's what I would consider like an MMO light. It's not quite an MMORPG because each area is instanced for X amount of players. It's not like RuneScape where you can go to like, Falador Park. Nobody goes to Falador Park anymore, but the Grand Exchange, and there's just a ton of people there, right? It's like if in RuneScape where you don't get to select your world and you randomly get put into a different world, right? That's how Destiny is. So you go to the tower, which is like the Grand Exchange, and there will be people there, but you can't hop like worlds or servers. You're randomly placed in an instance with other people. So it's like an MMO light because it's capped on like a very low amount of players, like maybe like 20 or something like that. So I really like that game, and it's really fun to play. And the reason I bring it up is because I was thinking about it. And in a lot of ways, it is the polar opposite of RuneScape. Now, that probably doesn't really make sense, but let me break it down what I'm actually talking about. In RuneScape, like on paper, the game doesn't really sound like a lot of fun. It's an idle game with, maybe some things have heavy interactions. There's a lot of just clicking. There's a lot of clicking and a lot, it's kind of memed on by a lot of people because anyone who watched someone play RuneScape, it just looks like you're just clicking on things, right? Even bossing and killing things, that you click on it, you eat some food, maybe you spec. It's quite basic, right? Now, it's like, we do enjoy it, but I would say the only time like combat is like actually super engaging and fun is in the end game when you're doing, raiding, maybe some end game bosses, whatever it is. But for the most part, while we all enjoy it, the actual action of a lot of things like on paper doesn't quite like seem like fun. But what's fun about it is, and I mean, this is quite obvious, right? This is why we play RuneScape. It's the goals that we set for ourselves. This game is so open in what you can do in it, and everyone's end game goal is going to be like completely different. And there's no beating this game. You can max your count. Have you beat the game? No, you haven't. Maybe you have done what you wanted to do, but there's no beating this game, right? You have a ton of quests. It doesn't matter if you never want to quest, if there's certain skills you never want to do, if you never want a PvP, or if you only want a PvP, or maybe you never want a skill, or maybe you only want a skill. Whatever it is that you like to do in this game, like it's like whatever, that's what you like to do. It's your journey, really. Like there's no place that every person's going to end up that's like, this is the end of the game, right? But it's really what is amazing about this game, and we can all figure out what it is that we want to work towards. So setting that goal and then having a plan and working towards it is what's fun, right? Mining isn't fun, but I want to get 99 mining, and that feels good when I get there. And why do I want 99 mining? Because I want 99 in all my skills. Is that fun to do? Not really, but it's going to feel good once I get there. That's just like how it is. Now, when I'm playing Destiny, I realize it's almost the exact opposite. There kind of is an end game, but it's not really sandboxy. It's kind of like, here's some mission. Like, it's not really sandboxy like RuneScape is. I find that while I love the mechanics of combat in that game, I find it super fun on paper. Amazing game. The guns feel so great. I love shooting stuff. All of it is so much fun. But I can't help but to feel like, why am I doing any of this? I don't know what I don't know why I'm doing this mission. Like, I'm just doing it because the game put it there and says for me to do it. Whereas in RuneScape, I'm probably going to do a quest because there's something that I want, right? Maybe Desert Treasure. I'm not just doing the quest because there's text in one of the menus that says Desert Treasure that I want it to be green. Maybe there is, but like, there's more to it than just that. I probably want the rewards for whatever reason, unless I'm coming in a completionist and I want to get every quest completed, right? And there certainly is quests like that, but a lot of the time you're doing a quest, it's for something, you know? Desert Treasure for ancient magics. Desert Treasure, maybe it's because you're like, well, I need to get barrel gloves, which are like arguably one of the best gloves. I mean, they are one of the best gloves in the game. And in order to do that, I need to beat Recipe for Disaster, which requires Desert Treasure, right? So there's like, that's your goals, the Barrows gloves. And it's like, so I'm playing Destiny, and I know I was playing it last night, and I was doing a bunch of missions and quests because they were on my quest log. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know. It doesn't unlock anything, at least not that I know of. There's nothing that I'm like, I want to get this item, so I need to do this quest. There are guns given to me in Destiny from completed quests, but it's not the same, right? There's no Barrows gloves that I'm grinding towards, because it's like Diablo, where you get weapons and stuff, and they kind of have randomized stats. So I guess the best way I would describe it is, let's say you get a Dragon Long, and it will have specific, like the spec of the Dragon Long will always be the same, but the stats within the Dragon Long will always be different. That's how Destiny is. So you start wanting to min max, you could get a Dragon Long that has like really high, maybe slash, or you can get a Dragon Long that has evenly dispersed stats across slash, crush, and stab. So you start min-maxing. Well, I want to get the Dragon Long, and I'm going to keep grinding until I get the best slash or the best stab, because I want to create the specific build. But it's just not the same. So the reason I was bringing up Destiny is because like RuneScape does such a good job at progressing your account and making you feel attached to some of these grinds and making you really want to plan to do, you know, I want to get whatever item, I want to get whatever goal it is on my account. And it feels good just working towards it, where a lot of games, like, they don't always offer that. They kind of are like, well, I'm going to beat this quest because it's in my quest log, and maybe I need experience. I don't really know why I need any of this stuff, but I'm just going to do it anyways. So that's when I was playing it last night, and while I was having a lot of fun killing shit, I kept stopping to be like, why am I doing any of this? And ultimately, that's why I end up quitting Destiny as some weeks go by, because I realize I'm just doing a bunch of things. And while I am having fun, after I complete it, I'm kind of felt like blue balled. I'm like, okay, now what? I guess I'll go do it again. But there's like nothing that I'm like working towards. I don't feel good about achieving things on that game because there's nothing that I'm really working towards. So anyways, this is an interesting game. I do love it. Anyone who plays it, hit me up. We'll play together, because I do love the game. The dungeons or strikes, the PvP, the rating is so good. It is all so good. It just, I feel like there's no direction. I need a carrot on a stick, and that's what RuneScape has, whereas Destiny does not. Anyways, that's why I wanted to bring it up. I have been playing a bunch of that game, but I had me thinking a lot. I do a lot of reflecting when I'm playing other games, because RuneScape is such an interesting game. Here I am, almost 30 years old, playing this game that I played when I was a child, and ultimately things have been added, but not a whole lot has changed. And I'm constantly thinking, why do I love this game so much? I mean, we all know. All right, though, that has been my week in a nutshell. But we do have some things to talk about in terms of news. So without further ado, let's get into the news. All right, we are back. And no, do not worry. We will not start off the news segment by talking about the PvP blog. I'm emotionally exhausted from going through all the forums of people talking about it. And it's too much. We'll get into it later. Let's start off, though, with none other than the Giants Foundry. It is this new smithing activity that they're introducing into the game. It all starts with a quest. The saying goes, let sleeping giants lie. But in this quest, you'll do exactly the opposite. Giants have existed in old school RuneScape for years, but how much do we really know about them? Sleeping Giants is a new Novus quest designed to reveal more about this mysterious race. In it, you'll help Kovac, a giant who's discovered an ancient workshop built to his proportions. Delve into the giants' murky past, rebuild their foundry, and start smithing swords from all across Gielinor with the new quest, Sleeping Giants. Jagex, you should hire me as a voice actor. Yeah, new quest coming along to learn more about giants. Who are they? Who is making their little cloth, the little loincloths, right? Like who's putting that together? Someone has to be doing it. So we're going to learn a little bit about the giants, which is always pretty cool. I love hearing about, I really like world building, right? I've talked about it before, but I find games and books and movies, whatever it is, I find some of the world building to be so interesting. And sometimes the story taking place in the world is not half as good as the actual world itself. Looking at you, Dune. I might catch some shit for that, but I read Dune, absolutely fascinated by the world built around it, or just technically the universe built around this story. But the actual story itself I found it kind of boring. I didn't even finish it. I got all the way to the second last chapter, and then I was like, no, I just can't. I tapped out because I realized that I was forcing myself to read it, didn't quite care how it ended. And you know what? It's usually the endings of the books can be real, real good. And here I am skipping it out. Just as a little of a side, I don't know if I ever talked about this. I read a book called Flowers of Algernon, and it was pretty good, but the ending made me cry like a bitch. I read it. I finished the book around midnight. I was sobbing. I'm not even kidding. I was sobbing all night for like 3 or 4. It was like 4 a.m. by the time I fell asleep. I was so, oh my God, that book broke me. It was so good though. Just the ending. The ending made the book so good. And I cried so hard. The book's quite old, so spoiler warning. I'm sorry for this if that's a spoiler. It's been out for a few decades now. But it's funny. I woke up the next day, very little sleep, so I felt like crap. And sometimes when I have very little sleep, I just feel kind of run down the next day. I think that's normal, right? You don't have that much sleep, but I feel like very run down, almost like sick. So I was like working out, and I remember thinking like, man, I feel kind of sick, but it's probably because I only got like 3 hours of sleep last night because I had a goddamn book. And what actually turned out to happen is I was sick. I got food poisoning, or as I forget what his title was, but he was like some specialist. And he's like, no, you don't have food poisoning. You have poisoning from food. I was like, oh, that's very different, isn't it? But I was down for the count for like weeks from that goddamn book. So, yeah, I love world building. So I always like hearing more about how the world works and maybe how the races work within this game. So the like giants, who are they? Where do they come from? What's the difference between an ice giant and a hill giant? What's the difference? Like, are they all friends? Do they all hang out together? Is there a giant kingdom where they all live together? Or do they hate each other? Does the fire giants hate the ice giants? What are the moss giants saying? Are they just like the stoners of the giants? Right? What if like there's a big problem of like, there's the Moss Giant district, and it's just full of like weed stores and bakeries, and there's like a Pink Floyd store. I'm trying to think, what do stoners love? You know what I mean? Like maybe that's the Moss Giants. Maybe that's what they're into. What would the Ice Giants be into? Right? They're probably like I'd imagine like Ice Giants feel like they're so cool. Like they think they have like a superiority complex because they were like the king of free to play for such a long time. And I think Hill Giants are probably like your everyday man, right? They're probably just like pretty chill, pretty easy to get along with. They're quite humble. They just know that, hey, we're just like everyone else. And I feel like the Fire Giants would be like the one percenters, right? They don't show off, like they're not one they don't interact with the other ones as much, right? They're kind of on their own, and they're like, you know what? We're so cool. We don't even go to free to play servers. So that's what I'm guessing. But you know what? We're going to learn all about it in the Sleeping Giants quest. But after you complete the Sleeping Giants quest, you will have access to the Giants Foundry, where you can start doing some smithing. It's non-instanced and it's not combat related. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You'll basically be commissioned by one of the Hill Giant or one of the giants there named Kovac, and he'll commission you to be making some giant weapons for giants to use. So you'll be giving a description of what kind of weapon you need to make. So it might say, hey, this giant wants a sword that's narrowed and spiked. So you will then be brought to a menu where you have to create the mold. And there'll be different types of molds. You might have there'll be multiple different molds you can use to create this giant sword mold, and they will have like different, almost like stats, right? They have, what I see here is they have like this narrow, heavy, flat, broad, light, spiked. They have all these different words, and they have different ratings. So you might want to get a silent point, which is going to be part of the mold, and it's going to be a level 4 in broad. It'll be like level 4 in light. It'll have a 4 in spiked, etc. So you have to do it to match the description that they're asking for. You will then take some metal bars, so it might be bronze, iron, steel, mithril, addy, or runite. You'll basically melt it down to make this sword. And spoiler alert, they're taking a little idea from warding, which is you'll be able to actually melt down weaponry or armor for the same metal. So let's say you don't have any runite bars, but you still want to use rune material, then you can melt down plate bodies and battle axes as well. That's it. You have to make it as close. You want to make it as close as possible to the commission description that they give you. And it also says that mixing 2 different metals will always be better. So keep that in mind. And you'll have a bunch of different tools at your disposal to make sure the temperature, the quality, and the polishing, like all that stuff, it will have certain rankings as well. So anyways, this is, the minigame revolves around making a giant sword. So the idea is that this will be less experience than Blast Furnace, but you'll save more materials. They don't go into depth about exactly what sort of experience rates you'll be getting, but that's what their aim is. So this is supposed to be a slower, but a cheaper way of smithing. And as always, if experience ain't good enough, you gotta tie some rewards to it as well, because we all love rewards. So as you complete commissions, you'll be gaining reputation, which you can then use to purchase items from the reward shop. So this is what they got. They got an ore pack, which will give you a variety of different ores. All right. And then they'll have to offer a bunch of different molds. They'll have a bunch of different molds that you can use within the actual minigame, which will help you get points and more experience. They will also have an 8 cannonball mold, which will be good outside of the minigame, because right now your cannonball mold is only good for making 4 cannonballs. Now you'll be able to make 8. So this will be a much faster way of making cannonballs. It'll still cost the same amount of steel bars, right? So instead of 1 per mold, you'll have 2. It's just going to be a faster way of making them. There'll be a smithing catalyst, which will allow you to make metal bars with half of the coal, but you'll gain double the experience. So unfortunately, this won't work for Blast Furnace. But let's say you want to make a bunch of runite bars. Well, instead of using 8 coal, you'll only need 4 coal plus 1 runite ore, and you'll get double experience. Kovacs Grog will be a consumable, will be a consumable brew that will allow you to gain a +4 in smithing. So it's just going to be a boost. It's going to be like like the pies. You can make the botanical pies and all that stuff. There will be a Hill Giant Club ornament. So the Hill Giant Club is an item in free-to-play that drops from Obor, the Hill Giant boss. And the club acts as it's basically a rune two-hander, but instead of being high stats in slash, it has high stats in crush. So really why that's useful is when you're PvPing in free-to-play, the idea is you attack with a fast weapon. So this might be a rune scimitar, or it might be a maple shortbow with adamant arrows, but you're using that to really do a lot of consistent damage. And then when you think you can get them low enough to spec them out, you can 1-tick switch to your rune two-hander and give them a whack. And you hope that you hit high enough that you combo them out. But when you're up against people in full armor, like full rune, then a Hill Giant Club is going to be much more accurate than a rune two-hander. It's a very specific case, but that's where it finds its use. And lastly, there will be a Giant's Helmet, which will be a cosmetic helmet that you will be able to use. It won't have any stats, but it might look cool. It might look cool. All right, so those are the rewards, and that is the Giants Foundry in a nutshell. Now, what are my thoughts on this? Great question. So this isn't quite new content per se. It's actually an idea. The concept of this update is actually in RuneScape 3. It's called the Ceremonial Sword. And I think it's dwarves that will commission you to create a sword. And it's supposed to be this like activity for smithing, and you get some bonus experience. And there's other things that can happen within the mini game as well, or the activity, I should say. Now, I wanted to find some discussions about the ceremonial sword activity on RuneScape 3. And there wasn't a whole lot of it. It doesn't seem to be it's not a very popular activity to do. And from what I've read is that it's kind of meh. Like, it's nothing special. It's meh. Some people do it. Others don't care for it. So I know that's not very helpful in judging what this is going to be, but hopefully they can make it a better activity than what it is in RuneScape 3, because I see something like this, like a new smithing activity, and I go, great. I hope this is like Guardians of the Rift. I hope this is like Temperos, even though I don't really like Temperos, but I hope it's like Wintertodt. I hope it's fun to do. I hope it's a way for me to enjoy smithing, because I don't like Blast Furnace. It's kind of boring. And luckily, smithing darts is kind of AFK, but overall, like, I'm mentioning it earlier, on paper, a lot of this stuff ain't fun to do. So if you can give me a fun way to train smithing, then cool. I think every skill, I've said this before, and this is going to be a hot take. Shit, Dill's hot take moment. Here we go. Every skill should have a fun way of doing it. Wow, that's great. That's crazy. And I think that's kind of where we're leaning with a lot of stuff. But when I read this, it doesn't quite sound fun. I don't read it, and it doesn't sound exciting to do. I read it, and it sounds like one of those activities you do in the middle of a quest where you have to like fix the generator and add the gears and do this, and it's kind of clunky, and it's like, it's just meh, like that. That hot air balloon activity in that one quest, Enlightened Journey. And it's like, this reminds me of some math circus stuff I did when I was like in like grade 1 or something. And you're doing it, and you're like, this kind of sucks. And then you there's some RuneLite plugin that just tells you click right 3 times, click down 4 times, click right 2 times, and you're done. So you just spam click that combination and it's finished. You're like, great. I don't know what happened, but it's complete. That's fine. So I'm hoping it's not quite like that. The rewards they're a little underwhelming, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think every activity needs to have amazing awards. It should have some stuff that like you might want to grind out, like the ore pack. I mean, that's just, you can whatever, throw that in there. The molds, I like the idea of a mold that you can purchase for the activity itself. One thing I love about Hallowed Sepulchre is that you collect these hallowed points. I forget what they're called, but you get these like tokens that you can then buy items from the Hallowed Sepulchre shop. But they have a bunch of items that make Hallowed Sepulchre a little bit quicker to do. So you can get like, there's like a hammer that you can use in the minigame, and there's like a lantern you can use in the minigame. They have all these different items that you get that will make doing Hallowed Sepulchre a little bit more fluid. So I like that. I guess my kind of issue with the Hallowed Sepulchre, and I think it might be with this as well, is that the grind isn't long. I got all the items fairly quickly, and then I'm left kind of thinking, okay, what am I grinding out for now? I guess I'll save up like 1,000 points for the agility pet recolor if I ever get the agility pet, or maybe I'll save up for the black graceful, just because it's something to buy. But I like it when you have that carrot on the stick. That's the theme of this episode. I like when there's that carrot on the stick, and it's like not super far ahead of you, right? When it's like, okay, your next item to grind is 1,000 tokens, and you can get like, I don't know, 15 tokens an hour or something. Like that carrot on the stick is really far away. That's kind of hard to see. So you're just kind of like mindlessly grinding because why not? So I worry the molds are going to be kind of easy to grind out, and then that's it. You have them all, you're good to go. There's no, okay, I have this, now let's get level 2 mold and level 3 mold and level 4 mold. It's always nice having something you can continuously work towards. The 8 cannonball mold, that can be a great item for Iron Man and Ultimate Iron Man, right? People who have to make their own cannonballs. So this will just make it so much quicker. If you're having to make thousands of cannonballs, it's kind of slow, and it's AFK, which is nice. But if you need cannonballs today and you want to play, you don't want to AFK, it kind of sucks to feel like you have to AFK, right? That's the problem with Nightmare Zone. If Nightmare Zone being AFK is amazing if you want to do it when you're at work. But if it's a Friday night and you want to chill, but you need to imbue your items, you don't really want to sit there and AFK Nightmare Zone. So having an option to speed up the cannonball process will be great for Iron Man, Ultimate Iron Man, and maybe people who make cannonballs like like bots or something. But for like main accounts, it's not too useful, but that's fine. It's good. It's okay to have items that are better for one specific type of people and not for another. The smithing catalyst, this will probably be another item for Ultimate Iron Man and Iron Man, if I'm not mistaken. If anyone can think of like dills, you're wrong, please let me know because I'm curious. But I don't think many main accounts are smelting bars. I don't think that they do it. It's not really great experience. I mean, if this makes it great experience, okay, maybe if this creates an AFK way to another AFKable way to get smithing experience, right? Smelting whatever bars, maybe I could see that being kind of useful. But as I read it, it seems like just a collection log item to grind out. Smithing boost of +4. Most of the time, boosts are again meant for irons and Ultimate Iron Man, because generally speaking, a main account can probably grind out smithing pretty fast, and you don't really have a reason to there's no reason you need 99 smithing. Well, so I can make rune plate bodies. Maybe if you're a free-to-play account, that's great, but I mean, there's way better ways to make rune plate bodies for anyone. This ain't RuneScape Classic days, which maybe that might be a story for people who don't know. When the first player who got 99 smithing in RuneScape Classic, they held a monopoly on rune items, and they became this company. And if I'm not mistaken, Zezma, a lot of people, I forget what her name was. I'll have to look it up. There's a whole story behind this, but this one player got 99 smithing and was the only person you can get rune plate bodies from. And she had the price of rune plate bodies at a crazy amount because there was no competition. And a portion of the community got together, banded together, and I think they crowdsourced. They all just pitched in money to get Zezma. Is it Zezma or somebody else to 99 smithing so that there is more competition to lower the prices? It's a deeper story. Maybe that's for another day, but I love shit like that. There's so many cool stories like that in RuneScape. But yeah, boosting, yeah, smithing is, yeah, that's a whatever. Hill Giant Ornament Club. I'm curious to see how that would look. It could look pretty cool, but again, not super useful because the Hill Giant Club isn't super useful either. It's got a very specific use. And then the Giant's Helmet, which is a cosmetic item, which is cool. I mean, cosmetic items aren't bad, but there's nothing here that I see that I'm like, oh, I'll grind that out. There's no smithing outfit. There's no even slightly useful item that I could see myself wanting. And I think that's kind of the problem. And it doesn't have to be super useful. I'll go for anything if it has a very specific use. I don't make cannonballs. I never have, and I don't think I ever will. The Hill Giant Ornament Club. I don't have a Hill Giant Club, but I don't know why I would ever need it unless I was PKing in free to play. Let's look at Beneath Iced Mountain. That quest opened up the ruins of Camdozel. And there was one item. There's two items to grind out. There's the Baronite Mace, which was I think it's slightly weaker than a rune scimitar, but it became this item in free to play that you could grind for a little bit easier than a rune item. So people would grind that before they got a rune scimitar. The other item that's available at the ruins of Camdozel was the Baronite Hammer. And it was just an equipable hammer. That was it. You could use it to smith with. And I grinded that out. It's not super useful. It's nice if I'm making like Addy bars and I want to make one extra per inventory. Great. It's nice for Temperos where when you get hit by the tidal wave, you won't lose your hammer, because what happens if you get hit with the tidal wave, you lose random items in your inventory, random fish, buckets, rope, or hammer in your inventory. You won't lose like I don't know. I was going to say party hat, but my mind's still stuck in RuneScape Classic. But I mean, yeah, you won't lose any equipment like that, but you'll lose a hammer. But with the Baronite Hammer, you won't lose that. So it's like not crazy useful, but I grinded it out because I'm like, oh, it has like one or two cases that I could actually make use of it. Sure, I'll use that. So I wish this had an item that was like that, whether that's like a smithing outfit or, gosh, I don't even know. Maybe like an eternal ring of foraging, right? With the ruby ring, you can enchant it and it gives you 50 charges, I believe, to make iron bars like 100%, right? If you don't know, making iron bars with iron ore, it takes one iron ore to make a bar, but there's a 50% chance it won't work. With the ring of foraging, it's 100% chance. So I don't know, eternal ring of foraging. I wouldn't use that either, actually, as I say that, but still, that's an idea. My point is, there's no item in here that I'm like, oh, I'll grind this out. Why not? The only thing I can see is if I want to fill out my collection log a little bit, I might grind here, but nothing is too compelling. Is that a problem? That's been an argument on Reddit and Twitter, right? This has useful items for Iron Men. So, just because it's not useful for me doesn't mean someone else won't find it useful. I guess it would just be nice if there was something a little bit more compelling for a main account. But at the same time, I guess it's not a big deal, right? Anyways, that's the Giants Forge. What do you guys think? Do you guys like that? Feel free to write an email. Let me know. You guys can always DM me on like Discord and stuff too to let me know, and I'll save it for next episode or even call in. What do you think of the Giants Forge? But there it is. Let's get into It's called the PvP Roundtable and Feedback Survey. Oh boy. First things first, they did come out with the PvP polls to vote on the armors. They said they were limiting this to just PvPers. And they set the bar quite low on who can vote. It's kind of a secret on what allows you to vote. But, people are kind of like reverse engineering, trying to figure out what are the restrictions. But I'll say my main account can vote, but that's fair. I've PK'd on it and I do a bunch of wildy content and I've been doing it for a really long time on this account. My pure can vote, which is obvious. I do a lot of Rev Caves PKing. But here's the strange thing. My Skiller Ultimate Ironman can vote, and it's a 10 HP account. And the only PvP I've done is I did Last Man Standing. I think I did 2, maybe 3 rounds so that I could afford rune arrows. And this was months ago. And I did that because you can sell the rune arrows for like 50K, and it was really good starter cash. I only did it once. Only did it so I could buy runite arrows once. And then I haven't gone back. I actually haven't gone back because they put restrictions on there, like barriers, so that I can't even enter it until I have like, I don't know, 700 total level or something. I can't remember what it is, but anyways, that account could vote on it. So yet there's people with like hundreds of boss kill count who can't vote in the poll blogs. So I think what the criteria might be is you might have to have done some sort of PvP and not like be killed by someone in the wildy, but maybe if you even fought back, didn't kill them, but if you fought back, I think that would have made you eligible to vote. Or if you did Last Man Standing or anything like that. I think if you just did, Wilderness Slayer or the Chaos Altar, and you only ever got PK'd and you never fought back or anything like that, that doesn't make you eligible because it's not actually PvP. You're just dying. There's no verses going on there, if that makes sense. It's hard to say, though. But on top of the polls being out in game, yeah, they have this dev blog, which is kind of talking about, like, what's going on with PvP. We basically, there's been a lot of outrage or complaining. A lot of, like, people are voicing their opinions about the wilderness. It's specifically the wilderness, not so much PvP. It's specifically the wilderness. Not a lot of people are complaining about Last Man Standing or the PvP arena, but they're complaining about their experiences when it comes to the wilderness. And that's because there's going to be these new PvP armors coming out, and people are worried that they're now going to be killed a lot easier by people in the PvP armors. Now, last week, I think I gave my opinion on it. I do not think people will be getting PK'd in these armors that often because these armors are mostly built for Grand Exchange PKing in PvP worlds or Edgeville. But anyways, whatever. That doesn't stop people from feeling like they could. You could technically get PK'd in this still, just like you could technically get PK'd in full Torva, right? It's you might not see it often, but if you did get bump into someone with full Torva, yeah, you're probably dead. So there's been a lot of talk the past few weeks about PvP. And I think that caused Jagus to kind of come out and talk about PvP in more depth about, like, just, I guess for them reflecting on the feedback a little bit. So they kind of sum up some of the things that we've seen in the past. And this includes the, like, equipment rebalancing and the Rev Caves rework and all that fun stuff. And they basically just say that they read a lot of feedback in regards to PvP. And they're kind of looking at what they want to do and potential changes they want to do to it and what they want to add to it. But they also are recognizing that they do want to bring stuff for the PvP community. They don't want to just focus on what the PVMers are saying. They want to look at the PvPers and say, okay, well, what would the PvPers still like to see, right? We can't just neglect them because PVMers hate the PvPers. Yeah. So they added a short survey that you can fill out. And they said that you fill it out, they're going to review it, and they might invite you to a super duper cool private Discord server for the PvP Elite, the top 1%ers. This is a super duper cool club that is invite only, which didn't help. Didn't help the people who are already complaining about it, because now they saw that there's this new server being created that is specifically for a group of players that, aren't quite liked, I guess, by other parts of the community. There's a real, like, divide going on between PvPers and PVMers. It's very interesting, but I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast with something like the wilderness. But as someone who, again, loves both PvP, but I really like PvPing, but I do a lot more PVM and even skilling in the wilderness than I do PvP. So I try to come at this as, like, I try to, like, I guess, be unbiased because I like all parts of it, but that does make me biased because I do like the wilderness. So I want the wilderness to be, kind of alive. I don't want it to be I don't want it to be removed. And I don't want it to be dead. That would make me very, very sad. But I know some people would be happy for the wilderness to be removed from the game. So it's a tricky problem they're in, but yeah, they think that making this Discord server to talk to PvPers about what do PvPers like, what don't they like about the wilderness. I think their idea is that this will be a confined area and a safe space to talk about what people like about the wilderness and PvP in general, without it being flooded by a bunch of, like white noise coming from people who don't really participate in PvP anyways. That's their idea. But the problem is that now you have this like secret Discord where people could potentially get like information that a large part of the community is not getting, right? If they have, and honestly, I think they do have like an elite PVMer or raider thing where they could talk about like, hey, should we nerf this or buff this? What do you guys think? Like, certain information could be given to the people in that Discord, which would put them at an advantage, which isn't fair. And that's what could happen with this new PvP server on Discord. So there's been a lot of outrage about that as well. Now, this isn't quite new. They do have these like private Discord servers that they've done before. I'm actually in one for clans because there's a clan for the podcast and I'm a part of this Discord, and it's a place to talk about clan stuff with other clan leaders and whatnot. So I'm in that one, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have one for like content creators and streamers and YouTubers, not podcasters though. Bastards always leaving us out. And I know they've created servers again for competitions and tournaments. Like there's a last man standing tournament that was an absolute flop, but they had a private Discord server for it. So is that still running? Who knows? Did they repurpose it? Again, who knows? But that's the problem with that people are worried about with this new Discord server. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully that the problem is like, it's hard. There's always, I think when you have a game that has a lot of PVM focus and then you also have an aspect of PvP, typically the PvP community is smaller. It's hard to make both crowds happy. Again, I play a lot of different MMO games like Destiny and Warframe. They're very similar, so that's why it first came to my head. But Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, MapleStory. There's tons of ones that I've played, and a lot of them end up resorting to like having specific like PvP is separate from PVM in the sense that like weapons don't work the same in PvP as they do in PVM. So we'll talk about Destiny. You have all these different guns, and your guns have different levels, right? There's different levels of guns to show you how good they are and all that stuff. But when you go into PvP, every weapon level is just erased and every item is kind of standardized. So you can still have a better weapon, but it's still all kind of standardized so that if you have the best gun in the game and someone has the worst gun in the game, it's a little bit more on par. Like they have a better chance with the person with the worst gun. I mean, the person with the best gun is still going to be at a better advantage because they have certain other aspects of it that are going to stay the same, but the actual weapon level and the stats get adjusted. World of Warcraft, they have PvP armor. They have a whole different stat, right? Where we have like crush defense and stab defense and range defense. World of Warcraft would also slip in another stat there called resilience. And resilience acted as a type of defense, but was only relevant against other players. So if you're fighting bosses and monsters, resilience did nothing. But if you're facing other players, suddenly you had this another defensive stat that would kick in, and it would be like if you had a high resilience, you took less damage from players. Right? So my point is that it's always hard to please both, and a lot of games end up defaulting to having like things work a little bit differently in PvP versus PVM. And the problem is it can get confusing, right? RuneScape isn't very consistent. So we have things like the Trident doesn't work against players. The Blowpipe is slower against players. Stuff like that, like where it's not a consistent, where, it's not like every item works this way in PvP. It's like a handful of items work differently. Some items work the exact same. Some items work a little bit differently. So I think that's where things can be confusing. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point they kind of do a whole rework where it's like maybe they introduce some new stats of like, we're going to have this new weapon stat and defense stat called like, we can use resilience again, right? So if there's going to be items that are really good against PvP because they have a higher resilience, whereas some items just won't be good, you know? So like there's like a standard, things get more standardized to make it easier when balancing items. So you're not worried about like, well, let's buff this weapon because it sucks in this raid when we thought it was going to be good. But hey, if we buff it too much, it's going to one-shot people in PvP, right? So having these different stats and stuff help you balance it a little bit easier. It's complicated. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know. What they should do is they should like bring in some like people who work on PvP stuff from other MMOs and be like, what would you do? Remember how they brought in like a financial advisor who was like a banking dude, and they were like, hey, can you help us with the economy? And they're like, yeah, here's some ideas. First off, you should tax people, you know. We need to have income tax, you know, every April RuneScapers need to fill out this income tax form and submit it to Jagex, and then they get a kickback, but maybe they owe more money. No, not really. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I get kind of burnt out from talking about it, to be honest. It's there's been a lot of negativity that like I love I really like looking at the subreddits. I love talking about RuneScape, and I like looking at conversations and discussions about it. But the problem with the recently is that it's been so negative about PvP, and it's not even like good discussions and arguments. It's like people who obviously, you know what, people listening, you might disagree, but like I read a lot of things and people have no idea, like they giving their opinions, they have no idea. Like they're just very ignorant when it comes to PvP or the wilderness in general, right? And it becomes like not a very constructive place to like get ideas or hear about new ideas. So yeah, I've just been burnt out from reading about it and staying off Twitter and the subreddit. Maybe I'll be able to infiltrate the PvP server. Hey, I do a little bit of PvP. I think you guys should let me in. And then I did fill out the survey, and if I can get into the server, we're going underground. We'll figure out what's going on here. We will figure out what's going on there. And let's be real, it's gonna be people are just gonna be fighting. PvP fights happening in the Discord chat. Oh Lord. We'll see how things happen. Okay, guys, that's the PvP blog, but definitely won't be the last of it. So next we have the iOS closed beta inventory rework. So they did some updates to the C++ client. Yeah, a lot of engine stuff has been going on. So yeah, whatever. That's been happening. But the main thing is it caused a bug, and we're gonna get to that in a bit, but it caused a bug. And, you know, we like to talk about bugs on this show, so we'll talk about it. And iOS closed beta. So some people are able to finally do the new update to the mobile client, which will allow you, it's like RuneLite, right? Bring in some RuneLite plugins into the mobile client, which is amazing. April 29th. Last week we talked about the Deadman mode finale rerun beta happening. They had to push it back by a week for some reason. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention, I have a prep document I put together for these episodes, and I totally forgot. The Giants Foundry, they came out with a tweet the other day about the Giants Foundry being postponed for the foreseeable future, just because a lot of people got hit with, a lot of people are sick. Maybe COVID's going around, or some, chickenpox, maybe. A lot of people got sick enough that they had to postpone an update that I didn't even know it had a release date. So this upcoming Wednesday, April 27th, we'll have Beneath Cursed Sands quest. So that's going to be kind of cool. This new quest is coming out, which will give you access to Raids 3, The Tomb of a Masket, whenever that comes out, winter 2017. Okay, last dev blog. The RuneScape board game has been announced again with the name. It is called RuneScape Kingdoms, The Shadow of Elvarg. And they have released what looks to be 3 miniatures. It is a knight, a wizard, and Elvarg the dragon. So these are some miniatures, and I'm get so close to like starting a miniature collection for like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, even though I play virtually. I've been like, I want to get into painting miniatures because when I go to like this game shop that I go to, they have Warhammer tournaments and it looks so cool. And then I asked them, hey, how do I get into Warhammer? Oh, it's like $100 minimum, but hey, the best deal is to go in with a friend. It's $180, but you split it between the two of you. Anyways, so I saw these and I was like, ooh, I can get these. These look cool. Comes with the board game. Hell yeah, I'm down. Anyways, yeah, you'll be able to play as so far what it looks to be a knight and a wizard, and your goal is probably to defeat Elvarg. Looks fun. It looks like it might be a co-op game, right? It's not going to be a game where it's like the wizard versus the knight. It's going to be like a party together, and hopefully you guys can defeat Elvarg. Y'all win or y'all die together. So, looks interesting. Okay, finally, we have 2 bugs to talk about because these are always fun. So the first bug we'll talk about is the item switching. When they were tinkering with the engine and the game clients, they made it so that the Java clients, there was like a 2-second delay, or when you were switching items, there was like if you did too much actions within like 2 ticks or whatever seconds, like it would only register as 1. So you weren't able to do like a bunch of armor switches. You had to be like quite slow in how you did it, or else it just didn't happen. And then they added some more Guardians of the Rift worlds because people wanted more Guardian of the Rift worlds, because the problem with Guardians of the Rift is the worlds are packed, and when you try to get in, you're like spam clicking because the match is over. You want to be one of the ones that gets in. And if you click twice, you'll go in and you'll go out. So that's annoying. So they added 2 more worlds, but they didn't check to see what worlds they were picking, and they picked 2 free-to-play worlds. So that's funny. Rookie mistake, Jagex. Okay, that is it for your news. Let's take a quick little break and we'll come back because we got a call from last week's question. So yeah, we'll be right back. Okie dokie, we're taking a quick little break and heading on over to the Grand Exchange, where if you have been tuning in for the past 3 episodes, we have been having a short-term sponsorship from Mr. Manscaped themselves, and this might be the finale. This might be the grand finale. So you can use code word wilderness for 20% off checkout at manscaped.com, and they sell shaving stuff. But anyways, I got this blurb, and I've been watching a lot of speed runs in terms of video games. I don't really like watching speed runs. I like watching like commentary speed runs, like video essays on YouTube. Those are kind of fun when people are like really breaking down what's happening. Watching someone actually do it, not as into it. But anyway, let's see if we can speed run this, okay? So let's say I should be able to do this in 30 seconds. That's the average. Let's see how much we can do. Let's aim for 20 seconds. That could be good. That could be good. It's a shame this is our last one because we can't really top it. We can't like compete each week with ourselves. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1... go. Support for the Wilderness Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Enter with the code WILDERNESS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls. 20 seconds, done. I tripped up at the end there. I think we could have easily done like 16 seconds. Damn, we're so close. Okay, hopefully they want to continue our sponsorship, and then I can keep trying to speedrun. We can see what our time is. But that was 20.63 seconds. So we'll have to make a note of that if we ever need to revisit this again. I tripped up a little bit though. Fuck, I could have done it so much better. Anyways, yeah, guys, if you want to get some men's grooming, I think women could use it too. I don't see why not. But it's supposed to be really good for like trimming up your pubic region down below. And I'm sure it's good on your face. I wanted to try it, so I tried it down below and it worked fine. It was a positive experience. There's a little light on it too, which is nice. And I wanted to try it on my face. Somebody said that's weird if I were to shave my face after shaving my groin. I don't think that's weird though. Is that weird? I don't think it's weird. Do you have like a separate soap bar for your nether regions? Or like I just use the one soap. I'm like soap self-cleaning so that, you use it on wherever. and then you could still use it on your face, and it's like completely clean, right? It's like the people, you know, it's like if you ever gotten out of the shower, you use your towel to dry off your balls, and then you dry your face off second. Like, is that weird? Because your balls should be really clean. If they're not clean, then you might have a problem, which is a great segue. If you've noticed that you're like, it could be cleaner down below, one of the products Manscaped has is testicle deodorant. Let me get this here. It is called the Crop Preserver. It's anti-chafing, and it is like a lotion. It's like lotion, which is interesting. I used to use the gel deodorant on, you know, they have like the sticks, right? And then I used to use this gel stuff. It just made me like my armpits are super lubed up, and I didn't like the feeling all the time. Anyways, this is like a lotion as well, so I guess the anti-chafing could be pretty good, because I think I talked about it in the past, but when I used to work construction, I used to chafe all the time. That was just a big problem all the boys used to have. We had like one little area in the back of our trailer where we would all spritz ourselves with baby powder. Anyway, apparently baby powder can be cancerous. My wife was telling me that the other day when I was spritzing some on me. So that's kind of scary. So anyways, but hey, there is a solution, the Crop Preserver. Yeah, it's vegan. Pretty cool. Directions: take a shower, then towel off until your goodies are dry. Rub a small amount of Crop Preserver into the palm of your hand, then apply on and around your lads. Yeah, so that's not bad. I wonder what the difference. Would you use this with the penis cologne, or would this be like one or the other? Because last week I talked about the penis cologne that we have here. So yeah, you could try it all. I put some of this, I gotta wash my hands. I put some of this deodorant on my hand because I wanted to see what I was talking about it. So I just squirted it on my hand. Now it's like leaving a slug trail. Hold on one second, I'll be right back. All right. Anyways, yeah, so this could be good. I know when I was in like high school, I had a friend who used to use a stick of deodorant on his balls. So this is probably like a step up. I wonder why he had to do that, if it was just like that rancid down below. Anywho, who knows? I sure don't. But yeah, so that's Wilderness. At checkout, you get 20% off and free worldwide shipping at manscaped.com. You guys think they're gonna continue this? I'm curious. I gotta send them all. I have to send all my ads that I do to them afterwards, so I'm curious to know if they're going to thumbs up or thumbs down. I sent them my very first one, and they never. I sent it, and they just never responded. So either they're just so busy going through them, or they listened to it and they're like, "Oh, we sent this guy free shit. Are you fucking kidding? Did nobody vet this podcast? Who the fuck signed off on this guy? Jesus Christ." Okay. Anyways. There's two more things I need to shell out before we move on here. So yeah, another way you can support the show is by going on over to patreon.com, where you can pledge each month. So I want to welcome Mike Stevenson to the Patreon crew. Thank you so much for signing up this week. We really, really, really do appreciate it. And if you are one of our top tier supporters, you get a call out every single week. So thank you very much to Yelphy Ferric, Strosity, P. Jackals, Mallard, Spleemo, Szechuan, Yay Fiber, and Z Space. So thank you guys so much for all of the support. Did I even say where you can go? I think it's patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast. Yep, that's where you can go for that. Hey, but if that's not your thing, you can definitely instead go to buymeacoffee.com/dills. Hopefully there's not too many variations on that spelling, because that would be unfortunate if it got sent my way when it was meant to go somewhere else. So thank you to 2JZ Soup for support for buying me a coffee this week. And last but not least, you can also support the show if you wanted. Another way you can as well is by boosting our Discord server. You can join our Discord server at the Wilderness, discord.gg/The Wilderness. So thank you to Chick and Battle Stabs for boosting this server this month. Thank you guys so very, very much. All right, let's get on out of here and back into the show. Okay, we are back. And we got a call from last week's question. So last week was sent in by a listener named Drew, asking if every skilling method in the game and activity was a job, what would be the worst? And we got a call from Mr. Matacause1. Let's get into it.
The Wilderness Podcast. I am back. It is Matt. I'm here in Austria, and I've got a response for you. Does that rhyme? First things first, Dills. It is not herbivore. That's like a koala. Herblore is the lore of herbs, which are plants, and also the H isn't pronounced at the beginning. Okay, anyway.
Okay, so I had to stop it. I pre-screened this one earlier, and you know what? I need to contest it. And by the way, I think I call it herbivore. Is it herbivore? Yeah, sometimes I call it herbivore when it's herbivore. Anyways, we'll just skedaddle over that one. But I went to none other, one of our silent partners behind the scenes. He works on production, one of the members of the show. His name is Google. And I asked him, how do you pronounce herb? I brought it. And this is what Google told me.
Herb.
Look at that.
Herb.
I had this argument with someone before, and I'm talking years ago, because he would always call it herb. And that doesn't sound right. I know some people call it herb. That doesn't sound right at all. Right? It's herb. I had to double check, but I will not change my pronunciation of the word herb. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. Anyways, back to the call.
Anyway, that was off topic. I want to reply to the question of the week. I love doing that. This one being the worst skilling method in real life. So I interpreted this question in two ways. One could be if the skilling method is set in real life on planet Earth, like I'm still physically on planet Earth. The other case is of I'm physically in Gielinor. So for the first case on planet Earth, I would say that the worst would be thieving, the skill in general. Like imagine trying to steal from policemen and getting clubbed to the ground or pepper sprayed or tasered if you fail. Or trying to rob a safe and then end up in prison or something.
Yeah, that's tough because part of one of the activities of thieving is, thieving from guards. So you're not just like pickpocketing everyday people at the market, you're like pickpocketing a cop. Like, got your taser, bitch. That's that could be a little sketchy. I would not recommend doing that.
For the second case, in Gielinor, I would say the wilderness agility course would be the worst. One false step and you literally get impaled by fucking spikes or take a bath in lava. It doesn't sound very healthy. So anyway, keep up the good work, guys. And Heartless, don't go dirt biking at the...
Don't go dirt biking where? Oh no, we'll never know. Damn, that could have been important too. And he's probably out there doing it. Heartless probably out there doing it. Sorry. There's we get cut off at 1 minute and 30 seconds. It looks like with these callers. Guess we'll never know. But yeah, the agility course. So you know what? It is dangerous if you're like a rookie, but I'd imagine if you're doing the wilderness agility course, like that's like American Ninja Warrior, right? Have you ever seen that show? Like, I'm not going on that show because I couldn't even do the first thing, but like the people who do it, they're like really good. And you could put lava underneath them and it wouldn't even phase them. They're like, whatever. I'm easily going to be able to do this. So, I'd imagine if you're doing the wilderness course and if you're doing, well, that's not true. I was going to say, and if you're doing like rooftop courses, you're probably pretty good. You're probably a good like parkour person. Like you do a lot of parkour, but my time on YouTube has shown me that just because you're jumping from rooftop to rooftop, you might not have a fucking clue what you're doing. And it's, people get hurt. Would not recommend it. When I was in high school, I had a group of friends. We're all like, we just saw, was it the Russian ninja video? I forget what it's called, but you know that video that's quite popular on YouTube of this guy doing parkour just in some area around the world somewhere. We saw that and we're like, man, we want to do that. And we were like, we were at like lunchtime, like practicing like parkour and stuff, and never got into it. So I learned real quickly that I won't be able to do this, nor do I want to. It looks fun, but I ain't gonna get into it. Matacause1, thank you so much for your call this week. And of course, we've committed to it. So let's go back to so this week's question of the week. I thought about this as I was kind of going through. I've seen a lot of people who really dislike the wilderness. So I wanted to put the question out there. What do you just hate about RuneScape? What is something you hate about this game? And you can interpret that any way you want. What's something you just really don't like in this game? And I was thinking about my answer. Which angle am I going to go with? And I think what I really don't like in this game is just how boring certain things are. And that it's fine if like certain things are boring, but like you don't have any alternatives. And I don't like how this game has been going on for almost 10 years. But hey, ignore that. Before that, it was going on for another 7 years. So this game was almost like 20 years old. And we have RuneScape 3, which has been going nonstop since the year 2000 or so. So we have that to learn from as well. And I just don't like how things are still not fun. Like if I want to train construction, there's not really any way to do it that is fun. And I know we're kind of seeing all these things change a little bit with like rune crafting and Temperos with fishing and kind of like Wintertod and all that stuff. But I don't really like how there's a lot of things that are unfun, and that's I think a lot of people would agree. It sucks when you have to do something that isn't fun. And then another thing that I don't like as well is that it feels like we don't really get a lot of innovative things anymore. And I don't know if that's even, I don't know what the source of that problem is. If it's like the J mods not being innovative enough, or if like they spend too much energy on something and it gets voted no, or if it's too innovative that might be confusing for people and they vote no on it. But I don't know. I'll play like Destiny. I'll play games and they have like, there'll be parts of the game that are just like, wow, who came up with this? It's just like a complete curveball, right? Like playing Final Fantasy VII, right? Anyone who's played, I'm talking about the first one, not the reworked. So Final Fantasy VII, by the way, I would say that's my favorite game of all time, because when I there's a huge nostalgia. Well, RuneScape's my favorite game of all time, but RuneScape aside, Final Fantasy VII, the first one, is my favorite game of all time because one, it's a fun game. The story's pretty good, but the nostalgia tied to it when I played it when I was a kid, I have such distinct. I remember I close my eyes, I can picture exactly what happens and where I was sitting when it happened at the end of disc 1. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you don't want spoilers for Final Fantasy VII, skip ahead. I was in grade, I think 6. Skip ahead like 2 minutes if you don't want to hear this. But I was in grade like 6. I was sitting in the living room on a couch. The couch was like this kind of really cheesy. It had like these flowers on it, like very old looking. And I was sitting on this I was playing my PS1 on the TV. It was right after school. And I remember walking to the area where Sephiroth comes down and kills Eris. And I had never in my life played a game that just, every game I played, if there's a character that was like that important to the story, and you're the main character, Cloud is like kind of has this like flirt thing going on with Eris, and you guys are kind of falling for each other. Every game I played, okay, she's gonna be with you for the rest of the game because you gotta have a happy ending somewhere. But no, she's dead, and that I remember devastated. I was like heartbroken. Right? I went on a friggin' date with Eris with Cloud. Like, damn, now she's gone. I remember like I was heartbroken. So that was part of the reason why I love that game. And the game was like really good as well. But it's not the point. That isn't innovative. What was innovative is like when you're playing this JRPG, it's a turn-based game. So it's a lot of like when you're in combat, it's very turn-based. Besides that, you're kind of walking around and just talking. There's not a whole lot of variation in the gameplay, except that it would have these segments where it was completely different. You had a segment where you're running away and you're on a motorcycle, and it suddenly becomes this like road rage game where you're on this motorcycle and you can like slash people beside you. And it's like almost like this pseudo racing game. And I was like, what the fuck? You only ever do this once, but what the hell's going on here? This is completely different than any other mechanics in the game. And then there's a section later on where the game becomes an RTS, where you're having to defend this tower and you're not doing any of the combat, but instead you're placing troops that are defending instead. That only happens for like a small segment. And I remember I would save right before the motorcycle scene and the RTS scene, and I would save them in different slots so I could go back and play them if I ever wanted to, because they were so different. Very innovative. But it doesn't always feel like we get that with old school RuneScape. I was thinking, quick aside, that like people are talking about like, why does the fire making skill suck so much? It's basic Wintertod, and how do you change it? I was like thinking, how cool would it be if they changed fire making and made it a survival skill? And you could have this part where you're in like the Trollweis? The Trollweis Mountains, and like you have like this blizzard and you have to like survive out there and you're taking damage from the cold. But like, hey, if you can build a bonfire that'll keep you warm, it'll prevent you from taking cold damage. But hey, you also need to have a higher survival level so that you can like find food and maybe get out of the snow and you'll last longer. You could have this whole other environment where it kind of played this part. Now, that on itself is like kind of like shallow. Like you need more to that. But to get these deep ideas, you got to be innovative. And I feel like we don't always get that. You know, even like boss mechanics, while they're really good, I think it's gonna be a while before we see like innovative boss fights. They're gonna be like just still using these mechanics that we haven't used yet, that are still found all across the gaming genre. You know, there's a fight in one of the old World of Warcraft raids called Karazhan, I think it's called. And you have all these boss fights, but then you're on this chess field, and it's not a boss fight you're doing. You're playing, your raid team controls pieces on this chessboard, and you're now using these chess pieces to fight the boss, who is actually just the opponent in this chess game. It's very innovative, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just having a bad idea thinking of things right now, but I find it's hard to get super innovative ideas, and we kind of just get like, you know, kind of like how Herbivore is kind of like a reskinned Rooftop Agility, right? The actions are all the same. It's just different. You can trick me all you want, Jags, but I'm on to you now. This isn't a new hunting activity. This is agility, just giving me hunting experience, you bastards. All right, guys. So yeah, call in. Let me know, what do you hate about this game? And it could be anything. But yeah, curious to hear it. You know, that's what I love about this game. Is everyone loves and hates things completely different, right? Some people hate the Skill Slayer. Some people love the Skill Slayer, right? Some people hate raiding. Some people love raiding. Some people hate skilling. Some people love skilling. Let me know, what do you hate and why? All right, guys, let's do some housekeeping. We're going to wrap this bad boy up and we're going to get on out of here. So if you want to join our clan in game, it is Clan Wild. We have a Discord as well, which is discord.gg/thewilderness. And our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to call in and be one of the featured callers of the week, you can click the link below, which will bring you to this week's question of the week. You can answer it, but you don't have to answer that specific question either. You can just talk about whatever you want, and that's totally fine. It's still the same link, and you're going to hear me regurgitating the question of the week, but you don't have to answer the question of the week. So yeah, there it is. And I think that, our Twitter is @thewildernessRS. I don't post a whole lot on there though. All right, I think that is about it, which will bring us to our song of the week. Our song of the week is, we talked a little bit about the wilderness, so let's bring out, this is one of my favorite songs of all time. And this song is Dark. This is it brings me back to being at the library and cranking the song and then getting in trouble that I'm playing music from the computers when there's other people around. Damn librarians. But Dark is a music track that is unlocked in the wilderness and also plays during the Wilderness Agility Course dungeon. Prior to an update, in April 28th, 2021, the track was unlocked at the Chaos Altar, and the hint referred to the southeast of the wilderness. However, it can still be heard there if using classic music mode. What? The song came out in 2004. It's an oldie, golden oldie. And we have an analysis. Every now and then there's an analysis that some music enthusiast does a breakdown of the song on the wiki. And it says the track is notable as it features 4 different short sections threaded together with none of them repeated. Very progressive song. I listen to a lot of prog rock and prog metal, so this is right up there for me. The opening section lasts exactly 50 seconds and features a French horn along to a haunting background sound with a thumping drum beat underneath it. And this segues into a short chorus solo. The second section opens with a short piano solo. It is livelier and retains the chorus from the first section, which plays amongst a quick synthesized melody. This lasts just under 40 seconds. The third section uses the same French horn from the opening and the same haunting background sound, but this time plays a little bit slower. More woeful melody instead that lasts around 30 seconds. Once this dies down, the final section begins, which includes drums, bells, light piano, flutes, and synthesized strings working together to create a moderately paced, mysterious melody that lasts just over 50 seconds in total. Just as the section closes and the track fades to nothing, the chime of a bell marks the finish. Wow. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you think of these solo episodes. We are looking to be more consistent with our episodes, but it also makes it harder to schedule sometimes. But I'm curious to hear some feedback on what you guys think. Hopefully Heartless can join us next week. And I have a topic prep list that I always kind of, I might have mentioned before, but I don't really like just talking about what I've done in the game at the beginning anymore because I don't do much in the game. It feels like sometimes I don't always have much to talk about. So I have a list of topics that I want to talk about instead. This week, I want to talk about the progression system in RuneScape and how I noticed when other games lack it, it's very noticeable for me. But what I had on the topic list, if Heartless was here, was I was walking earlier today, and this is a real life story, but I was walking around my neighborhood and there was a costume store that opened up and I looked at it and it was a furry store. I don't know if it was a furry store, but all the costumes were very animal themed and they're like what you would see, like what people who are into the furry thing, what they would wear. And I was like, that is very interesting to me. And it had me do a little bit of a deep dive into the furry fandom because I had a friend who was into it and he showed me this unknown part of the world when I was like 13 years old. He was like, I'm really into furries and this is what furries are. And I was like, wow, that's a thing. But I did like I was like, I'm curious what's going on with this. Like, how is the furry community so big that you can open up a store in my area that is like specific for like furry costumes and you could thrive? Anyway, I never got the answer completely, but I did learn that furries are not it's not just a sexual fetish. That's what I thought it was. I thought furries was a very sexual fetish. It's like something else. It's not just that. And that's what we're going to talk about next time Heartless is here. Maybe. We'll see. I have that written down because I was like, oh, let's talk about it. I wasn't even going to prep him on it. I was just going to be like, booyah, what do you think? What do you know about the furry world, Heartless? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? That's my cue to get on interview. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next week on episode 206. Bye-bye.